Every great thinker is more afraid of being understood than being misunderstood. Every great thinker is hesitant to identify with this thought because, well, what if you're just overestimating yourself? Every great thinker is actually aware of their own fear of overestimating yourself that comes with intelligence, so they just trust themselves to be intelligent anyways. Every great thinker is also aware of that, and then you enter a loop of, am I overestimating myself or am I selling myself too low? Every great thinker then understands that you just have to risk it, and every great thinker then understands that there is no such thing as risk. There really isn't risk, but I'm not going to go into that. I just started off talking. I didn't even have anything to say, and this is just like the first thing that popped into my head. I don't know what to post, but I feel like I have to talk. I feel like I have things to talk about, and oh, here's something I can talk about. This is something I came up with recently, and I don't know if it's an original thought. But that wouldn't be the point. It's just a discovery that has helped me dramatically. Okay. So the Buddhists, right? Okay, so now let me just give some context. For a while, over the past half a year or something, there has been this idea forming. I could feel it in my body, but I wasn't able to articulate it. And it was a bridge between total life affirming, being unashamedly yourself and following your impulses and your life, your intuition, just saying yes to all of that, like a very Nietzschean amor fati kind of attitude, and just this just saying yes to everything about your life, but even more importantly about you, right? And saying yes to your no to things of the world, right? So and the more Buddhist thought of, detachment, and I could feel that there's a link, and they sound so contradictory. You think of someone like Caesar, right, or Napoleon. Those are like people mentioned in the Nietzschean thought, right? And then there's the more Buddhist thought where you go, oh, I will actually detach. You want peace? You don't want to suffer? Okay, stop holding on to things. Stop clinging onto things. Stop trying to wrestle with reality and trying to bend it to your will. You will not win. Reality will always be stronger than you. Like life is you can picture it like the river, just a river. That's the image that's being used, right? Life is a river. And if you try to hold on to something, like, I don't know, a branch or a rock that you like because, hey, maybe it feels good, or just a part of the river where it's not as steep, but if you try to cling on to things, that's actually where friction comes in. And that's actually what tears you. That's what, right? So the real suffering is actually in holding on to things. You don't want to be holding on to this rock or this branch or this tree or that other person or whatever, because that will be resisting the flow of life. That will be resisting the river, which is existence in a way. And the true wisdom, then, the true key to peace, happiness, is through allowing yourself to experience things without wanting them to be anything that they're not, right? Because it is unhappiness is the distance between expectation, desire, and feedback, reality, right? So where do these two meet? They sound so opposite. They meet at what I just have called the state of surrender. Now, maybe the people of the Übermensch doesn't surrender. Well, okay, hear me out. First of all, the idea, but okay, it doesn't matter. surrender. The Buddhist, or the monk, the enlightened person enters a state of surrender. What does surrender mean? Well, it means exactly a state of presence, because you're not worried about the future. You're not bound, like you're not clinging on to expectations, so you're not bound by consequences of things, by the future. And so you're not anxious, but you're also not in the past. You don't regret things that happened. You accept them as they were, right? And or at least realize that clinging on to them, even if they were horrible, is just going to make your presence worse. So that's at least a practical reason to let go, right? So then you're present, which is, that's a good thing. Then you can be at peace, right? Because, there's no distance between expectation and desire and, reality, right? So there's no unhappiness, really, right? Or any unhappiness. You are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, you're just the awareness, you're the consciousness experiencing those things. But only by saying, I am happy, do you become, or no, that's a bad example, because why would you deny happiness in a way? But there's still kind of arguments made for that. But I am unhappy, right? Only by saying I am unhappy do you become unhappy. If you just say, oh, there is something approximating unhappiness, then it will be there in your field of consciousness, and then it will dissipate, it will go, it will leave, right? Because you're not holding on to it. You're not saying I am this. There's just there is until there isn't, right? And even a thought, you're saying, like, even thought, do you actually create your thoughts? In a way, sure, but can you choose your next thought? No. So do you, right? And then there comes this whole thing again about like ego death, but I'm not gonna go into that, because every time, in my experience, every time I've like had one, then I fall back into just being, because I think you need an ego. I don't think the answer is to not have an ego. I think the answer is to have an ego that serves you. You let go of every piece of identity that limits you or reduces your well-being, and you cling on to, or not cling on to, but you accept ego identity that serves you, and I think like, I am a painter. Okay, or even less clingy. Sometimes I paint. There are times when I paint. That is not really harmful, right? There can be moments in time where this thing will be drawn to paint. Nice, right? That's not a very harmful identity, but it can still be something that you describe yourself with. Like that, I don't see an issue with that, right? The reason I specified it to that extent is because if you say I am a painter, then you don't paint for 3 days. There might be am I really a painter? Can I justify that? So then there's some friction within the identity. You feel like you have to prove to yourself that you are who you say you are, or just go in denial, right? And you will do both, by the way. But yeah. So where do they meet? They meet at the state of surrender. That is presence, not anxious about the future, not stuck in the past, which means flow, right? Because you're in the moment, you're actually experiencing, you're living, you are here in tune with your body, right? You're actually connected to yourself, because yourself only exists in the present, right? And then, you're free, you're at peace, right? Now, the Buddhist or Eastern philosopher, he will tell you that suffering or this attachment is a linear spectrum, right? If you are not attached to anything at all, that is the surrender. right? Or this peace. They wouldn't call it surrender, but okay, this is like the inner peace, right? And then if you go a bit more attached to the world, to circumstances, to things, to the past, the future, to the weather or whatever, right? Then, well, you will trying to wrestle reality and trying to bend it, but it will always just bend you. You won't win. If you're trying to bend reality, it will bend you, right? So that's the, and then like a more will to power kind of take could be, well, if you would be stronger, perhaps you could bend reality, and perhaps you're only saying you would have to bend reality, but you don't have to bend reality itself. You're not fighting the universe. You're not trying to dominate the universe. You're just trying to dominate, I don't know, another person, some kind of social hierarchy, some, right? And then there might be people, well, aren't those things the same thing? That's a very, like people who are more drawn to symbolic language, they might actually say that those two things are the same thing, right? More practical person might, okay. So, but that was just a quick input, okay. So then the more attached you get, right, the more you will try to say, no, I want it to be this way when it isn't. Like, the more you will just cause your own suffering, and then you eventually get to despair. Like, I need this, my life will be over, I don't deserve to live if this doesn't happen. I have to be with this person, otherwise I'm just ruined. Yeah, right. So that's like pronounced suffering at this point, right? You're really trying to shape things, but if you try to shape things, they'll just end up shaping you, really, right? So, okay, but I'm saying it's not a linear spectrum. It doesn't go from no attachment, no suffering to total, like to despair, right? Because I'm saying it actually bends. It comes back around, you know. Sure, it's like more and more and more and more suffering, but it's like somehow back here again, right? When you're totally attached to your attachment and you can't let go, you can't say, this feeling is too pronounced, it is too there in my consciousness. I can't say, oh, this is going to pass. I can't say this just exists and it in my consciousness and it will pass. No, it's just there and there's nothing you can do about it. It's so pronounced, it is so there that any here is there, right? You can't let go of it either because it's just everything, right? That's that kind of state. And that would be like the hugest pronounced like suffering we think, right? But I'm saying if you surrender to this emotional state that is so horrible, to this experience, I'm getting called, doesn't matter. I have to finish this. That's a dear friend of mine. He makes, I hope he blows up making music or something, but okay. I'm getting, right. Yeah, I'm talking very frantically, am I not? Wait, I'm sorry. Am I going to edit this? It doesn't matter. I have to. Why am I in such a? That's interesting. I have to reflect on that, but I won't. Not now. Now I have to talk. Okay. So if you surrender to your emotional state, that's now a neat trick. Why? Because now you don't want to change your emotional state. That's the magic. You are saying, yes, this is everything. I am in such a deep level of despair, I can hardly fathom. Like, it is so overwhelming, I don't even have the resources to imagine a future without that pain. It's that intense, it's like life or death, right? But if you surrender to that state, you're saying, I don't want to change this state, I don't want to get away from it. If this may kill me, then it shall. Right, that level, right? But you can see, like, this sounds a bit like attachment now, detachment now, right? If this may kill me, then it shall. It's like detached from your own life. You're not clinging on to life. If this thing, whatever it is going to kill you, then you're like, that's what it will do. That's fine. But you can also get there through total attachment. I'm just this guy, I love climbing mountains, you know, I'm just so thrilled by this. I don't know if this is like actually the psychology of people who do that, by the way, right? But let's just say this, oh, I have to jump this 4 meter gap. I don't know if the numbers don't matter, right? I have to jump this gap, and if I don't, I will fall down and I will be over, but I just have to do it. I have to. It is so me. I can't denounce it. I can't denounce myself. If I can't let go of this thing because it is me. There is no difference between this desire and my soul, my fate, my being, my existence, whatever, okay? But then, if you were to fall, you'd be okay with that. Why? Because you aren't the person who is going to succeed in that jump or who has to succeed in that jump. No, you're the person who has to jump. You don't have to, and this is an example of I will have to credit him because I came up with this. There's 2 Instagram accounts I follow and they inspired this idea. And it's Sukr Abudi or something. It's this more, you're not your thoughts, the feelings. Don't label things, you'll experience them more thoroughly and things like that, right? If there's a river behind you, don't look at it, but don't try to label it with anything. That doesn't the experience get more, that type of thing, right? And then the other is H. Miller 76, who has some takes I don't agree with. I want to put that out there. And yes, I don't agree with the takes that you don't want me to agree with. That was stupid. And it is the idea, he mentioned Caesar, right? The die has been cast. I think that's what he referred to, Caesar crossing a river. The reason he fights is not, I don't know if this is exactly what he said, but this is kind of my interpretation of it, so perhaps I don't need to credit him, but I just feel like I do, because, the die has been cast. It means the reason he's going to fight the battle is not to win, but because that's his fate. That's who he is. He's not the guy who has to win the fight, he's just the guy who will fight, right? So he's surrendering to his passions, to his desires. Now, again, there's no distance between expectation and desire and reality feedback, because he's not doing it for an outcome. He's just doing it because that's who he is, right? So by surrendering to who you are, surrendering to your fate, you are now also in a state of presence. Because you're not anxious about the future. You're not doing it for the consequences. You're doing it because that's who you are. That's what you would do. It's what you will do. That's what you are doing. Okay? And you're not stuck in the past, because the past doesn't serve you. All that serves you is your desire, your intuition, your life, your where your spirit is driving you, where fate is taking you to, right? Where destiny is leading you to, or whatever, okay? That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter where destiny is leading you to. It just matters that destiny that you're following is yours. That's all that matters, okay? So now you're in a state of flow, because you're totally in your body, you're present, you're not worried about anything, you can be there, right? And from both of those things, there can be gratitude, pleasure, fun, excitement, thrill, seeking, peace. All of those things are kind of coexist at the same time, or, some brain expert, they actually switch really quickly in your brain. I don't fucking know how it works, right? So that's attention, but maybe, right? So I think the only real flaw is, I agree with the Buddhists, if you don't want to suffer, you can detach, right? But if you want to stop fighting your suffering, you can also attach, not attach, but you can surrender to your suffering. You don't want to attach to your suffering, though. Then you get people who can't let go of their misery, because maybe that's a part of their identity. You might see that with a character I'm just going to mention it now, BoJack Horseman, right? If you can't let go of your pain, you will actually just keep recreating it. If you went through childhood trauma, you can't, there's a scene where Diane, she says, then she feels if she doesn't write this book, then all of the pain she went through was for nothing, right? But that's the brutal answer. The pain you went through didn't have a purpose, didn't have a reason, it just was. You don't get anything out of that. You can't cash in suffering for any reward, or it doesn't work that way. if you were dealt a shitty hand and you suffered a lot, you won't get anything back from that. And by the way, right, and if there's, and I want to say this to you, if you are a person who suffered a lot, by the way, also everyone thinks they are the person who suffered a lot, but that doesn't denounce anyone's suffering, by the way. There is the thing of, someone feels worse out there, well then, so by the same logic, can I not be happy because there's someone happier? Like, can I not be happy about this achievement because someone else achieved more? Yeah, but basically the only real flaw, the only real mistake is to be on like the linear spectrum that is not either. Like you want to be totally detached or surrender to your attachments, right? So you want to surrender to the world in a way. You want to surrender to just the river, right? That's what I mean, not the world. You want to surrender to the river, right? Or you want to surrender to how your nature, how you would swim no matter the current. That's the way to put it, right? If it's like, and like maybe not a river, let's say it's an ocean, right? You can either just let yourself be thrown around and not try to change anything and thus not suffer, or just surrender to exactly how you would struggle, and thus struggling ceases, right? Like, I know physical exercise might be a good example of this. I have had states of where, like, running, right? If you're running and then you get to really, and it starts to, like, your chest feels like it's, I don't know, like really, like bleeding almost. It gets to a point where you're, like, your lung is it feels so, yeah, like it's being torn open in a way. It's too much, like, all, but even before that, if your lungs are really hurt and your body is fatigued and you don't want to go on, if you, like, what I find easier, and I don't manage this always, but this is a good practice. It is a way of like, if you can meditate while running, try it. Try meditating while running, right? And by meditating, I mean, like, don't try to change anything. If you run and then this really starts to, like, get really uncomfortable and hurt, try to be detached from the suffering and just continue running, even though it's just so present, it's like physical, right? Or try to just say, yeah, this is it. I am just going to keep running, even though it doesn't matter at all. Like, in both of those things, now you're not suffering. In both of those states, that's like kind of the bridge I want to make. If you're not struggling with your struggle, you're not struggling. That's a good way to think about it. You can either just not struggle at all, or at least not try to struggle with your struggling, because I believe our reality is primarily shaped by secondary feelings about things, which is like judgments, identity, whatever, in a way, right? Because editing me, input, I'm talking about secondary reactions. So when you have a feeling, there's also, like, always going to be a judgment about the feeling. And this is a point that I've kind of taken from, or at least I've heard it from Slavoj Žižek, where he talks about, like, you don't actually love the thing you love, you love your loving of a thing. And I think you can extend this to, like, you're not actually afraid of losing the person you love, you're actually afraid of losing your love of that person, right? More so than you are losing the, right? And I think we're, like, when we're angry, we're not just angry, we're upset about the fact that we're angry, right? When you're happy, you're like, oh wow, I'm so happy that I'm happy. Oh, it's so saddening how sad I am. Oh, it's so frustrating that I'm so frustrated. Like, it's like you always have the, if you just let your, like, subconscious or automation run, your secondary feeling will just be the same one as the primary one. But if you can, but through consciousness, through being aware of your own feelings a bit, right, you can intercept that and just consciously reframe the experience. if I'm really angry, but then I find it funny that I'm angry about it, you know? What if I like stub my toe and I'm like, my toe, bah, and I'm like pissed off, maybe 10 minutes later stub my toe again, and then it's like really like, what a shitty day, but then I laugh, and it's like, it's kind of funny, you know? Like, it's kind of funny that I'm just stopping my, you know, in a way, you can make it absurd. It's like an absurdity in suffering, and if you can view the absurdity now, you're not, like, would you have preferred not to stub your toe? Like, you don't care really anymore, because now it's just like there, now it's there, and you don't need to change it, right? So in that sense, yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna put that out there. And how did I get to this conclusion? This is something that, like, how did I make the connection of like total attachment, detachment, and surrender, how like the bridge and everything. It is through having been on both ends of the spectrum at like the same time that I realized they were the same thing. So I was at this level of despair and desperately trying to cling on to something, while also having been practicing like detachment and everything from my own thoughts and feelings, in a healthy way, not in a dissociative way, right? That's like the classic example of the Stoic who just suppresses his feelings, and the person who says, well, I am not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings, but you're just, you're not letting go of feelings, you're just rejecting, like you're just suppressing them, right? That's the, you're not saying, there's a moment of sadness and I will let this be there for how long, like I hear you, I see you, okay, and then we'll pass, right? But you're not forcing it to pass, you're just, you're gonna be around for as long as you want to be around, and then you'll leave, right? Versus, there's sadness, I will let go of the sadness, and just, you say, I'm not sad anymore, I let go of it. Yeah, no, you're suppressing, like, yeah. By the way, yes, I need to desperately cut my hair. You've been screaming at me the whole video, probably, or at least I have. But I'm growing my hair out, actually. Like I need to, I don't know, I want like long hair. But not in the front way, like more back. It doesn't matter, who cares about my looks? You do, your ego does. I'm just talking shit again. I don't know, fuck it. I'm gonna just upload this and see what happens.